Hey kids, for today we will have our last discussion, which is solutions of triangles. Before we start, let's make things standard first by labeling our triangle. So we have here the triangle ABC. We are using capital letters A, B, and C for the vertices. And for their corresponding angles, we are using the letters alpha, beta, and gamma. While for the opposite side lengths, we have A, which is the length of the side opposite to alpha. Then we have B to be the length of the side opposite to beta. And lastly, we have C, which is the length of the side opposite gamma. So this one right here is the appearance of the triangle that we will be talking about. So that's our convention moving forward. Our goal is to complete the triangle. When we say complete, that means we want to find all side lengths and angles of our triangle. To do that, we will discuss two important laws. These two laws right here relates the sides and the angles of a triangle. First one is the law of sines, and it states given a triangle with interior angles alpha, beta, and gamma with opposite sides of length ABC, then we have this equality right here. Sine alpha over A equals sine beta over B equals sine gamma over C. So as you can see within the fraction, you have an angle and the length of the side opposite to it together in one fraction. And this formula sort of gives us a ratio pertaining to the opposite side and the opposite angle. Another form of this law is if you obtain the reciprocal, you have A over sine of alpha equals B over sine of beta equals C over sine of gamma. Let's try and draw some observations. Let's look at this part of the equation. As you can see here, we have four unknowns involved. You have alpha, you have A, you have beta, and B. So how can we possibly solve for one unknown? That would be possible if you know three out of these four. So for example, let's say you don't know alpha, then to obtain alpha using the law of sines, you need A, B, and beta. So from here, we can say that we can use law of sines if you are given the length of two sides, and an angle, and in particular, you need an opposite angle. So two sides and one opposite angle. So why opposite? Let's look at alpha, beta, A, and B. So suppose alpha is unknown and we want to use A, B, and beta. You need an opposite angle, and in particular, that angle is this beta right here, which is angle opposite to the side with side length B. So first use case of this one is you have two sides and one opposite angle. However, let's say that a side length is missing, let's say A. Then we can solve for A provided you know alpha, beta, and B. So we can also use this one if you are given two angles and one side. So when you see one side and two angles, or two sides and one opposite angle, then you can use the law of sines. Second law that we have is the law of cosines. This states that given a triangle with interior angles alpha, beta, and gamma with opposite sides of length ABC, then a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine alpha, and the respective forms for b squared and c squared. So for you to easily remember this, if you have one side here, one side squared, the one and the other side of the equation would be other side 1 squared plus other side 2 squared minus twice the product of the other sides, 1 other side 2 times cosine of the angle opposite to this one right here. So if we will look at this first equation right here, you have a squared equals the other sides, b squared plus c squared, minus twice the product of the other sides times cosine of the angle opposite to the side with length a. Okay? That's how you remember the law of cosines. Let's try and draw some observations. Let's look at this one right here. As we can see in this equation, there are 4 values involved. You have a, b, and c. So you have 3 sides and this angle right here, alpha. So now you might ask, when can we use law of cosines? So let's try and see what will happen if this one is missing. If the angle is missing, then to solve for that alpha, you need to have a, b, and c. So in short, you can use law of cosines if you are given 3 sides. Now, what if there's a side missing? For example, b is missing. If b is missing, can we easily solve for b? It might not be possible. And similarly, if c is missing, it might also not be possible to solve for c. So instead, we can use law of cosines. If this one right here is missing, it's quite convenient if this one is missing, provided you have b, c, and the opposite angle alpha. So we can use law of cosines if you are given 2 sides. And what is this alpha right here? So suppose you're given b and c. If you have b and c here, alpha is actually the angle formed by these 2 lines. So it is the angle opposite to the side with length a, but at the same time, it is the angle formed by the side with length b and the side with length c. So you can use this if you have 2 angles and the angle formed by them is given. Okay? Later on, you'll have a better instinct on when to use law of sines and law of cosines. We'll see that later in the given examples. But in general, if we will look at these 4 right here, what can we observe? For number 1, you have 2 sides given and 1 opposite angle given. And here you have 1 side and 2 angles given. So for case 1, there are 3 given values. For this one, there are 3 given values. For this one right here, you have 3 values given. And this one, you also have 3 values given. So overall observation, for you to be able to solve a triangle, you need three given values. However, even if you have three given values, it does not assure that a solution exists. So now, the question might be, when would there be no solutions? First one is if the sum of the three angles do not equal to 180 degrees. If you will remember, the sum of interior angles of a triangle is exactly 180 degrees. So if the sum does not equate to 180 degrees, then automatically you don't have a triangle. Second possible reason for you to not have any solutions is if the sum of two angles is already greater than or equal to 180 degrees, or one angle is greater than or equal to 180 degrees. Because what will happen there is that it would force the other angles to be negative or zero. If you have an angle of zero, basically what you have is a degenerate triangle, or in short, a triangle that looks like a straight line. So here are your three vertices. You have the first side right here, second side right here, and the entire thing is the third side. So if this letter B happens, then you either have a degenerate triangle or exactly no triangles at all, since the angles are being forced to be negative. Third one is if you are given an opposite angle alpha and the sine of alpha is greater than 1. If that happens, then you don't have a triangle. Why? That's because the range of your sine function is the closed interval -1 to 1. So if you have a sine value greater than 1, then that's already outside the range of the sine function. Then lastly, there will also be no solution if there are two side lengths A and B such that the sum of A and B is less than or equal to C, where C is the greater side length. So for example, if you have A equals 3, B equals 5, A equals 3, B equals 5, and C equals 7. If you have this one, observe that C is the greater side length. However, let's make it 9 rather. You see that 9 is the greater side length. However, A plus B is less than 9. So that means you cannot really form a triangle whose side lengths are 3, 5, and 9. That's because we have this so-called triangle inequality, which states that the sum of the lengths of two sides of a triangle is greater than the third. So since the sum of the lengths of two sides of a triangle is greater than the third, automatically this cannot happen. So let's try and solve some triangles. First case is what we call the AAA case. This means angle, angle, angle. So basically there are three given angles. For example, we have alpha equals 55 degrees, beta equals 60 degrees, and gamma equals 65 degrees. So we know a lot about the angles, but we don't have any information about the sides. Let's see what will happen if I enlarge this triangle. If I enlarge the triangle, you still have the same value for the angles, but the sides increase. And similarly, if I shrink this one, you still have the same angle values, but your sides shrunk accordingly. So what does that mean? That means that A B and C have some sort of proportion with each other. And so to solve this one, what we can actually do is fix one side. So we can fix one side, say A. Then, what's good about this one is that you already have a given side and you have three angles. So you can you can use the law of sines. So then by the law of sines, I'll just write it like this, LO sines. By the law of sines, we have this equation right here, sine alpha, so that's sine 55 degrees over A equals sine of 60 degrees over B equals sine of gamma, that's 65 degrees over C. And since we fix A, so since A is fixed, we can treat A as a constant. We can treat A as a constant. And so, if we will look at this part right here, you already have three given values. You have 55 degrees, the A which you fixed, and 60 degrees. So obviously, we can already solve for B. Okay, so let's try and solve for B. So given that sine of 55 degrees over A equals sine of 60 degrees over B, we can do cross multiplication to get B times sine of 55 degrees equals A times sine of 60 degrees. And dividing both sides by sine of 55 degrees, we get B equals A times sine of 60 degrees over sine of 55 degrees. And sine 60, this is a value that we know. Sine of 60 degrees is just square root of 3 over 2. So we have here A times square root of 3 over 2 sine 55 degrees. So you have B right here. Oops. Okay. Okay. Now, we can also solve for C by using this one and this one. So we have here sine of 55 degrees over A equals sine of 65 degrees over C. Again, we fix A, so we're assuming that we know that value. And from here, we can solve for C. We have C times sine of 55 degrees equals A times sine of 65 degrees. And so, dividing both sides by sine of 55 degrees, we have C equals A times sine of 65 degrees over sine of 55 degrees. Unfortunately, we don't know sine of 65 degrees and sine of 55 degrees. So we just leave that as is. Are we done? Basically, yes, no? Because in the first step, we fix the first side. So you have the first solution right there. Then you have B and C in terms of A. So some observations. Some observations. First one, AAA results to infinite solutions. To infinite solutions. Why does it result to infinite solutions? That's because you can enlarge or shrink your triangle, but your angles do not change. And second one, so this one class, the first remark, this is provided that the solution exists. Now you might ask, when will the solution does not exist? As you can see, the one that really matters here is the configuration of your angles, because as long as your angles are properly configured, you can fix a side and you can find the two other sides given the side that you fix. So as long as your angles obey the requirements for being a triangle, we don't have any problem. So basically, we need alpha plus beta plus gamma equals 180 degrees. So second observation, no solutions will be formed if alpha plus beta plus gamma is not equal to 180 degrees. And lastly, we can actually describe the infinite solutions easily. So in fact, in general, given alpha, beta, gamma, such that alpha plus beta plus gamma equals 180 degrees, we can write the three sides ABC as, first, we fix the first side, we fix A, and B and C can be written in terms of A. So you have sine of beta over sine of alpha times A, and sine of gamma over sine of alpha times A. So just like what we have seen here, your B is A times sine of beta divided by sine of alpha. And for letter C, you have A times sine of gamma divided by sine of alpha. So the AAA case, that's quite easy, no? It's not really that hard. So now let's proceed to another case. Here you have the so-called SAA case. When we say SAA, that means you have two angles and one side. So suppose you have beta equals 29 degrees, gamma equals 102 degrees, and B equals 28. So as you can see here, what's given is beta, gamma, and B. You have two angles and one side. If you have two angles and one side, what you can use is the law of sines. So by the law of sines, take note, we can relate beta, gamma, B, and the length of the side opposite to gamma, which is C. So in particular, we have that sine beta over B equals sine gamma over C. And you have beta, you have B, you have gamma, so we can solve for C right here. So let's try and solve for C. Solving for C, we get C, we have C times sine beta equals B times sine gamma. Then dividing both sides by sine beta, we have C equals B, which is 28, times sine of gamma, you have sine of 102 degrees all over sine of 29 degrees. And this one right here is approximately 56.49. Okay? Take note, class, in the exam, we don't have calculators. So expect that the given angles are the special values. But in our examples, I decided to not use special values. Okay? But don't worry, in the exam, we will be using special values. So it will be easy for you to evaluate without a calculator. So now, you have C. So this one is already okay. But you are missing A and alpha. So how can we find alpha? We can find alpha by using the fact. So by using the fact that alpha plus beta plus gamma equals 180 degrees, we have that alpha equals 180 degrees minus beta minus gamma. So that's 180 degrees minus 29 degrees minus 102 degrees. We get here 49 degrees. So why were we able to use this fact? That's because you already have two angles. And the sum of the three angles is 180 degrees. So it's easy for you to identify this one. That's because the other two are already given. And finally, since you have alpha equals 49 degrees, we can now relate alpha. And maybe we can choose beta. Then you have your B here and A. How will we relate these four values? So lastly, by law of sines again, by law of sines, we get here sine alpha over A equals sine beta over B. And this gives us B times sine of alpha equals A times sine of beta. And dividing both sides by what we want to solve is A. So we divide both sides by sine beta. We get A equals B sine alpha over sine beta. So plugging the values, we have B equals 28. We have alpha equals 49 degrees. And beta equals 29 degrees. We have approximately 43.59 as our value for A. So it's quite straightforward, no? It's quite straightforward because given two angles and the side, you can proceed to the law of sines to get one side. And since you have two angles, you can easily obtain the third angle using the fact that the sum of the angles is 180 degrees. Then lastly, spamming law of sines again, you get the last side. So let's draw some observations again. Observations. What were the most important parts of our calculation? Actually, this one is the most important part. The part where we got the third angle is very important because this tells you that if you have two given angles right now, the third one is unique. So the third angle is unique. And so, what this actually says is that if a solution exists, then it is unique. And we're sure of that because first, the configuration of your angles are unique. And in the law of sines, since sine is a function, we are sure that the value of this one is unique and the value of this one is unique. So you have number one here, if a solution exists, then it is unique. However, when will a solution not exist? As you can see, this B right here is kind of useless. It's kind of useless in a sense that it won't really tell you if a solution exists or not. However, this one right here is important. We have to make sure that the chosen beta and gamma here adheres to the fact that alpha plus beta plus gamma equals 180 degrees. And so, we can say that if beta plus gamma is already greater than or equal to 180 degrees, then a solution does not exist. Okay? So for the case of SAA, unlike AAA, because in AAA you have infinite solutions, that is if the solution exists. For SAA, the solution is unique. However, there will be no solutions if the two given angles already result to something that is 180 degrees or higher. Okay, so that's the case of SAA. Let's proceed to the third one. This one right here, you are given three sides. You have A equals 5, B equals 12, and C equals 13. Unfortunately, law of sines is not useful here. Why? So, law of sines tells us that sine of alpha over A equals sine of beta over B equals sine of gamma over C. If I pick this one right here, I have A and B, but I don't have alpha and beta. And similarly, if I pick this one, I don't have beta and gamma. And if I pick this one right here, then I don't have alpha and gamma. So in any configuration of the sine law, I am missing two values. In particular, we're missing the angles. So how do we proceed from this one? We can actually use the law of cosines. So using the law of cosines, again, what is the law of cosines? The law of cosines, this is telling you that the square of one side is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides minus twice the product of the two sides times cosine of the opposite angle of the original side. So let's try and use the first form. we can use a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine alpha. You can also use the other forms. That's because you already have three sides right here. Basically, you can just think of this as choosing which value of angle we want to solve first. In this case, I want to solve for alpha first. So let's see. We have here a squared, so that's 5 squared, equals b squared, so that's 12 squared, plus 13 squared minus 2 times 12 times 13 cosine alpha. Then solving for that, we get 25 equals 144 plus 169 minus 2 times 12 times 13. What do we get here? We have 24 times 13. That's 312 cosine alpha. Then combining the constants in one side, we have 25. If we transfer this one right here and this one, they become negatives. So that's 25 minus 144 minus 169. We have negative 288 equals negative 312 cosine of alpha. Then dividing both sides by negative 312, we get here that cosine alpha equals 288 over 312. And if you will use a calculator, we get here that alpha equals, take note that the range of cosine is negative 1 to 1. So that means I can actually apply the inverse function. So I'm applying here the inverse function to get alpha equals cosine inverse of 288 over 312. And why is this okay? That's because the range of cosine inverse equals 0 to pi, or in degrees, that's 0 to 180 degrees. And that's where the values of our angles range. So this one right here is a reasonable expectation. So we get here that alpha equals cosine inverse of 288 over 312. And this one is approximately 22.62 degrees. So we have our first value for alpha. Now we want to look for beta and gamma. How can we approach this? First, you can do law of sines. Why? Since you already know alpha, we can relate alpha and A together with beta and B using sine of alpha over A equals sine of beta over B. However, our answer is a little bit ugly, to say the least. So I want to use again law of cosines to find another angle. So we can use law of cosines again. Maybe I can leave it as a remark here. From here, we can use either law of sines or law of cosines. I'm just really using law of cosines since we don't have a good alpha value right here. So let's use again law of cosines, but this time what I want to use is this one. So I'm just being a little bit random here. I want to use this form, minus 2ab cosine gamma. Actually, it's not required for you to use this one. You can also use this one to solve for beta. But later on, you'll see why I chose gamma. This one actually has a good value. So if you plug C here, you have 13 squared equals 5 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 5 times 12 cosine gamma. So 13 squared, that's 169 equals 25 plus 144 minus 2 times 5, that's 10 times 12, you have 120 cosine gamma. Then putting 25 and 144 in the other side, we get 169 minus 25 minus 144. That's actually 0 now, right here. You get 0 equals negative 120 cosine gamma. And so we have 0 equals cosine gamma. Now the question is, what value of gamma will give you 0? So take note, we are looking at this part right here, and cosine gamma equals 0. That means that the x-coordinate is 0. So if you're looking at the unit circle, we are talking about this one right here, which has an angle of 90 degrees, and this one right here, which has an angle of 270 degrees. However, since we're talking about a triangle, we know that alpha plus beta plus gamma equals 180 degrees. And these angles are non-negative. So if we choose 270 degrees, it will be forced that alpha and beta would become negative. So this one right here cannot be chosen. So we have 90 degrees. So that means gamma equals 90 degrees. Since gamma is in the interval 0 degrees to 180 degrees. And as you can see, we have a right angle. So what does that mean? Actually, we're talking about a right triangle. And in particular, this is one of the famous Pythagorean triples, the 5, 12, 13 triangle. So now that you have alpha and gamma, so since alpha and gamma are obtained, we can use the fact that alpha plus beta plus gamma equals 180 degrees to obtain, what are we missing again? We're missing beta. So we have beta equals 180 degrees minus alpha minus gamma. That's approximately, I'm using here approximately because we're using an approximation of alpha right here. So that's approximately 180 degrees minus 90 degrees minus 22.62 degrees, and that will give us 67.38 degrees. And that completes this triangle right here. So just like what we did in the in the first two cases, let's try and draw our observations. So observations. What is the crucial step in this solution? The crucial step here is obtaining the first two angles. So, to obtain the first angle, we use law of cosines. And we know that this one right here would feed a unique value. That's because the range of cosine inverse is 0 to pi. And in the second step, whether you use law of sines or law of cosines, you also obtain here a unique value. And so, if you obtain the third angle, since you have two unique angles, we're sure that the third one is unique as well. So for number 1, if a solution exists, then it is unique. So as you can see so far, it's not too complicated. Here you have infinite solutions, provided it exists. And the only reason for it being infinite is because we can do some scaling on our triangle. But for case 2 and case 3, they're really unique. However, when will we have no solutions at all? As you can see here, what's given are 3 sides. And so, the contradiction here would actually come from the triangle inequality. So, if the triangle inequality is not satisfied, then no triangle is formed. So, equivalently, what does this mean? If we will go back to this one right here, if you can find two side lengths A and B such that A plus B is less than or equal to the greater side length, then you don't have any solution. So maybe I can just copy this one right here so that I don't have to write the entire statement. Okay. Yeah. Copy. Equivalently, there exists two side lengths A and B such that A plus B is less than or equal to C, where C is the greater side length. Oops. Okay. So if you will look at the given, 5 plus 12 is greater than 13. 12 plus 13 is greater than 5. 5 plus 13 is greater than 12. And so, triangle inequality is satisfied in this example. Okay? Now, let's proceed to the fourth case, which is the SAS. This time, you have two sides and an angle formed by them. That's why A is in the middle of the 2S. That's because the angle is in the middle of the two sides with lengths A and B. So as an example, we have here A equals 10, B equals 5, and gamma equals 60 degrees. Can we use law of sines here? So let's see if you have sine alpha over A equals sine beta over B equals sine gamma over C. What we're missing are C. We don't have C. We don't have beta. We don't have alpha. So let me just label this 1, 2, 3. If we equate 1 and 2, then we have 2 missings. If we equate 2 and 3, we have 2 missing values. And if we equate 1 and 3, we have 2 missing values as well. So as you can see here, law of sines will be useless for now. So instead, we can use law of cosines. So using law of cosines, what's the missing value again for the side? We don't have C, but we have the angle. We have the angle opposite the side with length C, gamma. So we can use the form of law of cosines, where in the left side we have C, and in the right side you have the angle gamma. So we will use C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine gamma. And we just plug whatever we have. We have a C squared, that's what we want to find, equals 10 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times 10 times 15 cosine of 60 degrees. So 10 squared, that's 100, 15 squared, that's 225. Then we have here 2 times 10 times 15 times cosine of 60. What's cosine of 60? That's just 1/2. So the 2's cancel. 10 times 15 would give you 150. So you have here 100 plus 225 minus 150. And so we get here C squared equals 175. Then finally, getting the square root of both sides, we have C equals square root of 175. So now you might ask me, sir, isn't C a variable? But why are we dropping the plus minus? So here, we drop plus minus since side lengths are not negative. So since side lengths are not negative, we can ignore the negative sign. Okay, so now you have C equals square root of 175. And what's left is alpha and beta. How can we find them? Observe that since you already have C and gamma, we can choose either A and alpha or beta and B, since we already know B and A. So for this example, let me use A and alpha, but you can also try to use B and beta. So if we choose that one, you have C, you have gamma, you have A. What's missing is alpha. So let me write here, using the law of sines. If we use the law of sines, what will we get here? Law of sines. We're using again alpha and A. So that's sine of alpha over A, which is 10, equals sine of gamma. So you have sine of 60 degrees over C, which is square root of 175. Then multiplying both sides by 10, we get sine of alpha. Sine of alpha equals 10 sine of 60 degrees over square root of 175, which if you apply the inverse function, we get sine inverse, alpha equals sine inverse of 10 sine 60 degrees over square root of 175. But sine of 60 degrees is a special value, right? So we can easily obtain sine of 60 degrees. That's just sine inverse of 10 times square root of 3 over 2 over square root of 175. And if you plug this one in a calculator, what you'll get is approximately 40.89 degrees. Okay? However, this is not the only possible solution. Why? Let's try and draw our coordinate plane. So you have here quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. What do we know about our angles? Our angles in a triangle are less than 180 degrees. Our angles are less than 180 degrees, so we are considering quadrants 1 and 2. Furthermore, sine of something is greater than or equal to 0, let's use alpha here, provided P of alpha is in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2. So that means alpha is in 0 to 180 degrees. So what does that mean? We are not just looking at this alpha right here, but we are also considering this another value here, alpha bar. Now you might ask me, why didn't we do that for cosine? That's because if you will look at quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, here cosine alpha is greater than or equal to 0, but in this side, cosine alpha is less than or equal to 0. So if you have a positive cosine, you're already sure that it's in quadrant 1, but if cosine alpha is less than or equal to 0, then it is in quadrant 2. So let's write here. Now consider another alpha value. Alpha equals 180 degrees minus 40.89 degrees, which is what is this value? I think this is 139.11 degrees. Would this be a possible alpha value? Turns out it's not. So this is not possible. This is not possible since alpha plus gamma would then be greater than 180 degrees. 139.11 plus 60 would give you 199.11, and this one is greater than 180 degrees. So we are sure that alpha approximately 40.89 degrees. Okay, now you have alpha. What's left here is beta. And since you already have alpha and gamma, it's easy to obtain beta. So lastly, we use now the fact that alpha plus beta plus gamma equals 180 degrees. And solving for beta, this will give you beta equals 180 degrees minus gamma is 60 degrees, alpha is 40.89 degrees. We get here approximately, oops, it should be here where I use approximately since we use the approximate value here. So beta approximately 180 degrees minus 60 degrees minus 40.89 degrees, which will give you 79.11 degrees. Okay? So what was our strategy here? Our strategy was to use law of cosines to obtain another side, which is the side opposite the given angle. Then from there, we use law of sines, and we already use here the fact that the sum of the angles is 180 degrees. So some observations. For this case, actually, it can be shown that the solution for SAS is only one. So, if a solution exists, it is unique. Although I said that we can consider the obtuse case, in reality, it can be shown that the acute angle is already enough. So, no need to consider 180 degrees minus alpha. And second one, when do you think will a solution not exist for this case right here? As you can see, what's given here are two sides and an angle. Is this two sides enough for us to determine a contradiction? Unfortunately, it's not. So the contradiction would lie here. So if gamma is greater than or equal to 180 degrees, then a solution does not exist. Okay? So just to recap, for AAA, you have no solution or infinite solutions. Then for SAA, SSS, and SAS, you have either no solution or one solution. Now let's proceed to the last case. We have here the SSA case. So when we say SSA, that means we're considering two sides and one opposite angle. So for this example, you have A and B and alpha, which is opposite the side with length A. This one right here is actually what we call the ambiguous case. Why is it ambiguous? That's because there's a lot of possible combinations that will dictate when there will be a solution or not. So let's look at three examples. First one is if A equals 22, B equals 12, and alpha equals 42 degrees. So right here you have A and alpha, which are opposite each other, and you have B. So it's quite easy to look for beta using the law of sines. So using the law of sines, we have right here sine of alpha, sine of 42 degrees over A. equals sine of beta over b, which is 12. Then to solve for beta rather, how do we solve for beta? We just multiply both sides by 12. We get here 12 sine 42 degrees over 22 equals sine of beta. And lastly, we can apply the inverse sign to get beta equals sine inverse of 12 sine 42 degrees over 22, which is approximately 21.41 degrees. And take note, we're using again sine inverse. So let's put on the side here the possibility of considering the other case. So what if beta equals 180 degrees minus 21.41 degrees? So take note, maybe I guess I should put it right here. Note, if sine inverse, you need to consider 180 degrees minus alpha. If cosine inverse, no need. Okay? So since we did sine inverse here, we have to consider the other angle, which is 180 degrees minus 21.41 degrees. If this is the case, observe that alpha plus beta would be 180 degrees minus 21.41 degrees plus 42 degrees. You have right here a positive number. So this one is greater than 180 degrees. So this means beta equals 180 degrees minus 21.41 degrees is not possible. And so let's proceed with obtaining the other values. What's remaining is C and gamma. And since we already have two angles right here, we can obtain gamma. So since we have alpha equals 42 degrees and beta approximately 21.41 degrees, we have here that gamma equals 180 degrees minus alpha minus beta approximately 180 degrees minus 42 degrees minus 21.41 degrees. This will give us 116.59 degrees. Okay, so now we have gamma. What we just need is C. And to get C, we can use law of sines by using this one right here and this one, or using this one and this one. So I guess I'll choose A and alpha. So lastly, by law of sines, we get here sine of 42 degrees over 22 equals, we're solving for C, so we will use sine gamma, sine 116.59 degrees all over C to get, so what will our C be? By cross multiplication, we have C sine of 42 degrees equals 22 sine of 116.59 degrees Then dividing both sides by 42 degrees, we have C equals 22 sine 116.59 degrees over sine of 42 degrees. This would be approximately 29.4. And that's it for this example. I will not draw observations here yet, since I want you to see the other examples regarding SAA before we draw conclusions. For the second one, let's consider A equals 15, B equals 25, and alpha equals 60 degrees. So you have A, alpha, B, and beta right here. So as you can see, since this one is given, we can use law of sines to obtain beta. So by law of sines, we have sine of alpha, so that's sine of 60 degrees over A, so that's over 15, equals sine of beta over B, that's 25. So this gives us sine of beta equals 25 over 15 times sine of 60 degrees, that's square root of 3 over 2. Let's see what's the value of this one. Let's work on it on the side. You can use a calculator, but during the exam again, you don't have a calculator. So let's try and see what will happen if you don't have a calculator with you. So let's work on it here. 25 over 15 times square root of 3 over 2. This is just 25 square root of 3 over 30. But 25 can be written as square root of 625, and 30 can be written as the square root of 900. So how did I obtain this one? I just squared this number, then obtained the square root since they just cancel out. Then same here, I squared the number, then square root. And since you can multiply square roots, you can put it in this manner. You have square root of 625 times 3 over 900. And observe, I can divide 900 by 3 to get 300 below. And 625 over 300, this is a number that is greater than 1. So I'm sure that the square root of 625 over 300 is greater than 1. So that means this number right here is greater than 1. So we obtain sine beta is greater than 1. But what is wrong with this? But take note that the range of sine beta is -1 to 1. So, what can we say here? This configuration where you have 15, 25, and 60 degrees is not feasible. That's because sine of beta will give you a number that is greater than 1. So, a contradiction is obtained. Indicating that no triangle of the given configuration exists. Okay? So again, why are there no triangles with this given configuration? That's because you obtained sine beta is greater than 1, but just like what I said, the range of sine beta is -1 to 1. Okay, I hope this example is clear. Let's proceed to the last example. So for the third example, for SSA, we have A equals 5, B equals 5 square root of 2, and alpha equals 30 degrees. So this one is given right here, and you have B. So we can solve for beta using the law of sines. Using the law of sines, what do we have here? We have sine of alpha, that's sine of 30 degrees, over A, so over 5, equals sine of beta over 5 square root of 2. Then, performing our arithmetic here, we get, by multiplying both sides by 5 square root of 2, we have 5 square root of 2. Sine of 30 degrees is 1/2 divided by 5 equals sine beta. So the 5's here cancel, we get square root of 2 over 2 equals sine beta. Now, what values of beta will give us square root of 2? Here we get, first, what's the first one? When will sine of beta be equal to square root of 2? That will happen if beta equals 45 degrees. And the second one is if beta equals 135 degrees. Here we get beta equals 45 degrees and 135 degrees. So how were we able to identify that one? We know that in quadrant 1, that will happen if you have 45 degrees. But in quadrant 2, sine of beta is still greater than 0. So we consider 180 degrees minus 45 degrees equals 135 degrees. And these two values are actually valid values for alpha and beta. Why is it valid? So both values of beta are valid since if we use 45 degrees, 30 degrees plus 45 degrees is 75 degrees, which is less than 180 degrees, and 30 degrees plus 135 degrees is 165 degrees, which is still less than 180 degrees. So far, we don't have any problems as for the existence of the solution. So now, we divide our solution into two. First is if beta equals 45 degrees, and the second one is if beta equals 135 degrees. So if beta equals 45 degrees, right now we already know alpha and beta. So we can obtain gamma to be 180 degrees minus alpha minus beta. That's 180 degrees minus, so 30 minus 45. We get here 105 degrees. Then lastly, what's left is C. And to get C, we can relate A and alpha together with gamma and C. Then lastly, by law of sines, by law of sines, we have right here sine of 45 degrees over 5 square root of 2 equals sine of 105 degrees over c. And I'll skip a little bit since the video is already quite long. We get here c equals sine of 105 degrees times 5 square root of 2 over sine of 45 degrees, which is approximately 9.66. Okay, so we're done in the b equals 45 degrees case. Now, let's proceed to b equals 135 degrees. So, same thing, gamma is 180 degrees, minus alpha minus beta, that's 180 degrees, minus 30 degrees, minus 135 degrees, giving us gamma equals 15 degrees. And lastly, by law of sines, we have right here a sine of alpha. No, I use beta here, I think. Yeah, I use beta. Sine of 135 degrees over 5 square root of 2 equals sine of gamma, sine of 15 degrees over c. So, I'll just remark here because I think I said the wrong thing. This is sine of beta over b. But there shouldn't be any problem if you will use sine alpha over a. It should be the same. So here you get c equals sine of 135 degrees times 5 square root of 2. Sorry, I think am I doing it right? No, it's sine of 15 degrees times 5 square root of 2 over sine of 135 degrees, and this one is approximately 2.59. So in this example, we actually have two triangles. First one is if A, B, and alpha are as given, and you have beta equals 45 degrees, gamma equals 105 degrees, and C equals 9.66 degrees. The second one is, given these three, you have beta equals 135 degrees, gamma equals 15 degrees, and C equals 2.59. So, observations. This one is a general observation for SSA. First one is, if a solution exists, what have we seen? In this example, you have two triangles, but in the other example, you have just one triangle. So if a solution exists, there can be one or two solutions. And that's why we call this the ambiguous case, since if the solution exists, you're not yet really sure if there are one or two solutions. And how will you identify this? To identify upon the first use of law of sines, check both. In this case, we're looking for beta, right? So beta and 180 degrees minus beta, or alpha and 180 degrees minus alpha, or gamma and 180 degrees minus gamma, depending on what you are looking for, first and foremost. And second one, when will we not have a solution? We have seen it in the second example. We will not have any solution if sine of beta is greater than 1. So no solution exists if a sine value greater than 1 is obtained. Okay? So to summarize everything that we have done, we have here the different cases. First one, for AAA and SAA and SSA, the main law that we will use is the law of sines. And the possibilities here, for AAA, you can have either no solution, or if a solution exists, you have an infinite number of solutions. Because basically, you're just doing some scaling here. But if you have the SAA case, 2 angles and 1 side, it's either you have no solution or you have 1 solution. And if you have SSA, this is the most problematic one. You can have either no solution, 1 solution, and 2 solutions. If you have 3 sides, then you need to use the law of cosines. That is your first move. So instead of main law, maybe I can label this as first move. But anyway, main law is still the same. So if you have SSS, use law of cosines and solve for 1 angle first. And the possibilities here are either no solution or 1 solution. Then for the SAS case, so SAS, that's 2 sides and an angle formed by them. You use law of cosines, and the possibilities here are either no solution or 1 solution. Then let's go back to the causes of contradiction. For AAA, your cause of contradiction is if the sum of the 3 angles do not add up to 180 degrees. If SAA, what you're looking for here are the 2 angles. If the sum of these 2 angles are already greater than or equal to 180 degrees, then you don't have any solutions. For SSS, what you're looking at here is the triangle inequality. So if you can find 2 side lengths A and B such that the greater side length is greater than the sum of the other 2, then you don't have a solution. So again, what you're looking for here is comparing the greatest side with the sum of the other sides. For SAS, your contradiction comes from the single angle given there. And for SSA, the cause of your contradiction, of course, you can still look at the angle, but there's another source of contradiction here, which is the sine value. Okay? So you just have to be careful with the contradictions. Here, there is an illustration of the ambiguous case and when there are possible triangles to be formed. So let's look at the first example. In the first example, we have A equals 22, B equals 12, and alpha equals 42. So that one actually falls on this case where your A is greater than B. That's why you had 1 solution. For the second example, we had A equals 15 degrees, A equals 15, B equals 25, alpha equals 60 degrees. So here we have A is less than B. So there are actually two solutions here, two possibilities. Either this one happens, or this one happens. But since your alpha is acute, this one cannot happen. And what actually happened here is this case where your A is not actually long enough to form this triangle right here. That's because the height is in between A and B. The reason why I did not do this is because there's another computation that you need to worry about. The case finding H, which is B over sine alpha. And in the third example, we had A equals 5, B equals 5 square root of 2, alpha equals 30 degrees. And this one falls in this case right here, where your A is smaller than B. And luckily, your H is small enough for you to form two triangles. The two triangles here are this one and this one right here. Okay? So the takeaway here is for SSA, it's ambiguous. So you just really have to be careful with the values of sine and the values of beta that you are obtaining. So that's why in any case, so that you will not get confused, consider the first beta value that you obtained and the other one, 180 minus beta. And that's it for this topic. It's quite long since there's a lot of things that we had to consider. There are a lot of cases. And I am happy to say, I guess, that this is the end of Math 20. End of Math 20. So congratulations everyone for reaching this far in the semester. Just take note that on Tuesday, we aim to have a long exam review. And on next Thursday rather, you will have your long exam. So thank you everyone and see you soon. Goodbye!